So I'm going to invite our guest speaker. Help me welcome our guest speaker for the evening, Mr. Louis Akpoveso, the CEO of Beige Africa.
Wow, very fantastic, very romantic. Thank you so very much for the
Thank
opportunity
you.
to be here. Thank you so much for everybody that is also on the call. For me, this has been a very interesting evening. I'm even still, let me not disclose where I am, but it has been a very, very interesting evening. The fact that I can even just log into this call shows that God is with us. So I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. And today we're going to be talking about something that is very, very, very close to my heart, because I personally am those finance people that don't believe that everything needs to be one way, right? I believe that people spend money based on where they are coming from emotionally, where they are coming from psychologically, right? And money is supposed to be spent. Let's not even try to mix it up, right? Money is supposed to be spent. So I'm part of those people that believe that somebody that is spending money on X or Y is not doing it because he's foolish. You know, there are things that have happened in their life that has necessitated them to spend the money the way they are spending it. Is it the world standard? No. But guess what? Your personal life is also not the world standard as well, right? So everybody has different priorities that they want to, look at in terms of spending of money. So today we're going to be talking about balancing fun and finance. And what I just want to see in the next couple of seconds is, people, what is your idea of fun? Because fun is different, and I can tell you my own. If you give me a loaf of bread, you give me ability to make tea, fry egg, you put PlayStation 5, and then you give me constant light, I'm having fun, right? And that's me. Maybe it's because I'm an introvert, but what is our general idea of fun? I want to look at the charts, and get some one or two. Fun is traveling. Someone says fun is traveling. Because yeah, fun is traveling. People really like to travel. And you know what? At the end of this webinar, or close to the end, for people that believe that fun is traveling, I actually have something in collaboration with the organizers for them. So it's going to be a motivating time. If you can stay to the end, you definitely should, so that you can get that bonus. Someone says fun is shopping. Absolutely. The good things in life must be bought, right? These are facts, right? Somebody say fun is eating and I want shopping. Perhaps this person is going to be shopping for food to eat. I love it. Absolutely, absolutely. I can see shawarma and Chapman. Funny story. Every time I go out, whether it's fine dining or ugly dining, I will leave having had a Chapman. Chapman is my go-to drink. If it's not Chapman, it's nothing, right? So that's it. Someone says PS5. Absolutely, motivating time. And you know what? PS5 is such an important way to release tension. You've been tense the whole day. You come back, you play PS5. Sometimes, even if you are losing, it's okay. Even if you are losing, it's okay. So, and then someone says doing things that make you comfortable. I want to leave that comfortable open to interpretation. But I love it. I love it. Having a buffet, absolutely. So food, travel, doing stuff that makes us comfortable, I absolutely love it, right? Fun is actually different for every single person. And please, next slide. Let's see the next slide. And fun is important to everybody exactly the same way. So what does Lai say? Lai say a person that I'm trying to say it in Lai's voice, but I don't know if I'll get it. I don't think I will just use my own voice. A person that doesn't like to spend money will spend money in a way that he doesn't like. Yeah. If you don't like to spend money, you are going to spend money in a way that you do not like. It's not me that said it, and it's not false. If you like, so the money is going to be spent. That one is a given. Don't worry, the money will be spent. A lot of people say you can't live life alive, right? So we are not, all of us, when we live life, when we live here, when we leave the earth, we will not go with any money. So it's important to know how and what we are spending our money on. So today, our agenda must agenda. We have 4 key things, and the last one is my favorite. But the first one is the most important, budgeting, right? Budgeting, super important. Why is budgeting important? what is the correct, proper way to do it. The next thing is the time value of money. We are going to see a very emotional example of why time value of money is super, super important. Then we're going to talk about our portfolio. Since we want to travel, each Sharma and Chapman, we want to have food, we want to play PS4, and want to be comfortable, we must then be able to have a plan to do that, because the money will be spent anyways. You can choose to either spend it the way you like, or you choose to spend it the way you don't like. But that money must be spent. So if you have a portfolio, then you're in a much better position to, go ahead and spend it. Now that we've introduced ourselves, we know what fun is to each and every one of us. We've seen the 4 things that we're going to talk about, and we've heard the voice of Lai Wasabi. Let's get straight into it. So next slide, please. So budgeting, right? Guys, budgeting is not an outlandish concept. People have been doing budgeting right from Brigade years, right? Budgeting is basically, I'm going to spend on 1, 2, 3, and this is how much I am going to spend. And when you finally get the liquidity to spend, you do not deviate from it. Budgeting is more disciplined than mathematics. It is more disciplined than Excel. It is more disciplined than any budgeting app out there, right? So if we look at what we're projecting on the slide now, we'll see 2 classes of people. Now, the first one is 2 people that just got married. What can we notice about these 2 sets of people? The people that just got married, and the guy that earns 1.5 million every month, right? 1 or 2 comments in the comment section. What do we actually notice about these 2 people, or these 2 sets of people, right? I'll give you while you're like commenting on what is similar to them, I'm going to give you the gist for the guys on the left side. These 2 guys were so much in love. Love is a beautiful thing. If you have found love in your life, alhamdulillah to you. It's not easy. If you have not, I just shall say day front. The most important thing is that if and when you do, it is the most beautiful thing. People are saying things. So people are saying empty pockets. Some people are saying sakpa. Very, very correct, right? Love is so beautiful that it is blind. Now, when they say love is blind, people think it's the beauty side. Oh, love is blind because I love her or I love him. He's not handsome. She's not beautiful. But you get other things we love the blind person towards, right? And it is after the quote and unquote, and I say this very carefully because I'm not a love therapist. So, but after the first couple of years, when the love now don't calm down small, you now begin to see the other things that made you a little blind when you started, right? So while love was blind, this very, very handsome and beautiful couple decided to go, in Nigeria, right? There's a difference between marriage and wedding, but we don't always know until we start, right? We don't always know until we start, but there's a difference between marriage and there's a difference between wedding, right? The wedding is the part that a lot of us are most excited about initially, because we have imagined how the day is going to be. We have imagined, oh, these are the kind of people I will invite. They are going to spray me X amount of money, etc., so forth. But the truth of the matter is that it's not always the way we think it is, right? So that's what happened to these guys. They were blind from the angle of how much they needed to spend to be able to organize their wedding. They went ahead, pushed money into hall, pushed money into DJ, pushed money into food, etc. And then they are in this precarious situation with this other guy 2 to 3 months after they are in debt, right? This second guy is working in a very high-paced industry that pays well, 1.5 million every month. These are the guys that we call high-income, low-net-worth individuals. High-income, low-net-worth individuals. I'm going to write it down in the chat box so that we can see it. High-income. I think somebody has abbreviated it. HILNL. HILN. It is not easy to say in the mouth, But these guys are high-income, low-net-worth individuals. So you're earning so much, but because you are trying to keep up with lifestyle, or you have commitments, or you are just horrible with money, you know, as the 1.5 is coming in, the 1.5 is going out, right? And there are a myriad of good excuses. Remember what I said? Nobody spends money foolishly. Everybody has a good reason to themselves to spend money, right? So there are a myriad of good ideas on why your 1.5, as it is coming in, it should be going out. Somebody will say, I'm doing a building project. Somebody will say, I'm trying to. So there will always be good reasons for your money to finish on the first day it has entered, right? But generally speaking, we do not want to be in the position that these two groups, these two categories of people have found themselves, right? The first guys prepared or missed the opportunity to plan ahead of their wedding, and in their marriage, their pockets are out and we can see the pockets out. This other guy is not yet married, and he has a very good paying job, 1.5 M, but even at that, his pockets are out as well. These two scenarios and very many more are the consequences of not budgeting. If you fail to prepare, if you fail to budget, you are budgeting to fail. You have settled your mind that no problem, I'm going to always have my pockets out and nothing is going to be inside. So next slide. Right. At the beginning of 2024, Piggyverse released a very romantic report telling us that you know, we have several things that we actually spend on, right? We have several things that we actually spend on. And the three key things that they said we spend on are food, utilities, and transport. So 87% of Nigerians said, a lot of my income is going into food. 58% said once it comes to lights, water, Netflix, airtime, all the utilities, that's where my money mostly goes into. And then 48% said, you know what, it's transport. Moving from point A to point B, right? People that have cars are crying. People that don't have cars are crying. People that had cars before that need to move somewhere are crying. Everybody is shedding tears because it's a very interesting time in terms of prices of fuel right now, right? So it can be really, really demotivating to see that a lot of your money is going into this and there's almost nothing that you can do about it. We talked about transport, we talked about utilities, and we talked about food. But let us not despair, because if we are able to draw up a budget and we're able to follow that budget systematically, a lot of our problems will be solved. And there are actually ways to sort of cut down. Now, I didn't come here to come and tell you people, cut down on the food that you are buying, cut down on the way you go out or all those things. That's not what I'm here for, right? Because we're trying to learn how to have fun, whether or not our finances are where, we need them to be. But I must also tell us the absolute truth, right? In terms of enjoyment, in terms of fun, in terms of jaye, the planned one is better than the one that just falls in your lap, right? And for you to enjoy for another 10 years, another 15 years, there are some things you must do in the first 3 years, in the first 4 years, in the first 5 years that will help you to enjoy seamlessly and guilt-free, right? So there are some particular strategies that we must use, for food, for transport at the very best. So there are things like carpooling, right? Carpool with people that are going, in the same direction with you for transport. If you can get remote jobs, very fantastic for you. You can save on that. For utilities, you need to have a budget line item for that. If it's Netflix, if it's lights, please don't leave your lights on when you've left. Don't leave the AC on if you're not there, or don't forget to turn it off when you're leaving for work. It is the simple things that give us the ability to stay in the budget lines that we have imagined. Just wanted to confirm if we can see the slide, because I can't. Maybe the guys can help us with that, but if not, we are good to continue. Right, so we can't. I think they are being shared, but we're good to continue. So guys, let's talk about budgeting. Budgeting is a very fantastic, right? Okay, so I think the slides are back on. The key to budgeting is knowing what works for you. It's not because you came to a webinar, Louis now said, do it like this. You try it, it does not work for you. Oh my God, there's something wrong with me. It's not true. We must always remember, everybody has different needs. Everybody has their own different needs. So, but this is a universal template for budgeting that works for precisely almost everybody, right? This universal style of budgeting works for precisely almost everybody. So this is the 50, 30, 20 rule. 50% on needs. And what are your needs? These things that we just mentioned, the food, the transport, the utility, right? Those are things that you need to exist. If you are not taking care of your needs, it's super difficult to exist, right? And by existing, I'm also including your job. So if you are not paying transport to your work, you can't earn income the next month because you're going to get fired. And if you get fired, it will become much more difficult to exist, right? Take it from people who have been. The next thing is wants. So these are things that make life worth living. You have a girlfriend or a wife or a boyfriend or a husband, you know, you guys like to go out for dinner, even if it is once in 2 weeks or once a week, you know, or, you know, lodge separately, have a different experience from your house, go out with the guys, play some games. So you go then drinks go then enter, small chops will enter. All those things are things that make life worth living, and it's very important because you don't need to exist, you also need to live. So 30% of your income can actually go into wants. Then 20% should go naturally into savings and investments, right? Now, savings is different from investments. And we're going to see it in the time value of money. By saving, I don't mean send your money to under your pillow. When you get your your salary, you take 20% of it, withdraw it in cash, put it under your pillow, and then you are now saving. Not a great idea, right? You must always be able to put it into investment vehicles that work for you over time. And I'm sure that the organizers, you know, of this webinar have some of these options for us as well, right? So we just put it savings and investment because you must first of all save the money from being spent. You must first of all save that money from entering into wants, right? And then push the money into an investment vehicle, you know, that you. So the type of budgeting method that you should use, or that, you know, I advise, like I said, is open to interpretation. But I can tell you what I do. I do the envelope method, right? I don't always move around with cash, but this is a cash compliant method. So you've earned 150K, bring the whole 150K. Then you have several envelopes. This envelope is for light bill. This envelope is for food. This envelope is for black tax. This envelope is for this, right? And then you have particular, based on your needs, wants, and savings and investments, you have particular amounts that are assigned to each of these envelopes, right? So you put the money in these envelopes. Once the money inside that particular envelope has finished, there's nothing you can do about it anymore. The money that you're supposed to use to go for date nights, the envelope that is tagged date nights, the money that is inside has finished. No more date night till next salary payday. Don't go and pinch from food and put inside date nights. May you no go hungry for front, right? We must be able to exercise a very high level of discipline if you want to use the envelope method. A particular line item has finished, you cross your legs, and then you just anticipate next month's own, right? There are other ways. So there are several budgeting apps, and I'm sure that even the organizers may have a component of, you know, their app that has a budgeting, you know, factor to it. Budgeting apps are brilliant because even if you don't use them, they will give you a way to make sure that your budget, you know, is up to date. Right. So there's this very, very romantic quote here: who knows start to save wisely, go hustle again. Right? And saving wisely is basically investments. So if you're not taking something out to keep for your future self, rest assured that you go hustle again. And the second time around, you are older, your bones are weaker, you are now shy, because where they would have employed a young, vibrant 25-year-old to come and do a job at 150K, they will not offer the same kind of opportunity to an old, vibrant 45-year-old, even though you know more. It's just this, sometimes it's a bad look for the company. Now, this is not a one-size-fits-all scenario, but I'm just saying, right? Save wisely now, so that you know go hustle again for future. Let's see the next slide. Fantastic. Guys, I want to tell us a story about the time value of money, okay? I want us to imagine that out of our millions of naira that we are earning, because I know people are earning millions of naira on this call, and even if you've not started earning it now, receive it because you will earn it, okay? So 100,000 naira, right? That is all that we are taking from our salary that we're earning. I want us to imagine that, right? Warren Buffett says that compound interest is how people get rich, right? Compound interest is basically your interest that you've earned from your principal. That interest will now earn you additional interest. So that's how money grows. And we're going to see it practically here. So I want us to the eighth wonder of the world. Very, very apt, Victor. No, please, let's go back to the first one that just has the 5 years. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Now, if you're getting 100K every month for savings, right? And this 12% that you're seeing here is a quarterly compounding rate. So that means at the end of the quarter, the interest that you've earned will join your principal and then help you to earn additional interest, right? And if you're doing that at 12%, and this 12% is a modest rate, treasury bills right now are over 20%, okay? There are some years that they are 8%, but by the time you take the balance, it's somewhere between 13.5 to 15%. Okay, so this 12% is actually very conservative. But let's just even still be conservative. In another 5 years, what will happen is that the principal contribution, your 100,000 naira, will now be 6 million. So you would have contributed 6 million in capital, right? Now, the 2.2 million that you're seeing down there is the interest that you would have earned in 5 years. And I want us to take pay very particular attention to the ratio of the capital that you've contributed and the interest that you've earned, right? So in 5 years' time, your interest will contribute just about 30% of your capital. So you have 6 million in capital and you have 2.2 million in interest earned. So next slide. Very romantic. Now, in double that time, or in 10 years' time, same 100,000 that you're contributing, same 12% quarterly compounding rate. But what do we notice about the interest that has been earned? What do we notice about the interest that has been earned? Where in 5 years, you earned just about 30%. In 10 years, you are earning almost 100%. This is the power of compound interest, right? So you would have absolutely almost 100%. So you would have done 12% in capital contributions, which is romantic, which is fine. But your interest would have also compounded to a whooping 11 million naira in 10 years. 100,000 naira contributions every month, right? So nothing has changed in terms of our parameters except time. Which is why we're talking about the time value of money. So let's see the final one. Now, if we add another 5 years to it, we will notice that the interest has overtaken the principal contribution, right? So in another 10 years from, the first batch, where you would have had interest that is contributing just 30% of the money, now you have over 180, 200% of interest that has just been earning interest. So your actual contribution is the 18 million. And then you have 31 extra million in interest contributions. Guys, this is the time value of money. This is why people like Warren Buffett can never be poor. He's well into his years, but These are the principles that he has applied since he started investing when he was 11 or so over time, right? This is the key to becoming financially free. I'm sorry. It is boring. It is long. It is too straightforward for comfort. It's not exciting. It's not kalu. It's not put one, get 24. Put 10,000 naira to get 500 million in another 2 minutes. That one is exciting, but that's not how people get rich. That's not how people get wealthy. Unless everybody will be wealthy. It's logic. If you want to get wealthy over time, if you want to have extra income for traveling, for shopping, etc., this is the way to do it, right? If we don't take anything out of the presentation or out of our discussion this evening, please let's take that, right? So let's see the next slide. So the next slide, our portfolio, and I want this to be a conversation where if you have any, questions or you have an experience with any of these instruments here, you can actually share in the chat box, so that we can address it. But basically, what your investment portfolio should be is 60% in stable instruments, 30% in growth instruments, and then you can use not more than 10% to take risk. I don't know the age range of the people on the call, but I'm just going to assume that a lot of us here are between 22 to 40, right? So this is generally a portfolio for, people within that age range. These are instruments you can look at. Treasury bills, safest form of instrument in any economic society. That's what people call the risk-free rate of return in an economy. So if your treasury bills is doing 20%, then you that's doing business outside in the real world should be doing more than 20%, right? So treasury bills are very safe instruments. They usually pay an upfront interest. And what that means is that you will get the interest that you're supposed to make from it now. And then at the end of the treasury bill tenure, you will then get your capital amount, right? There are treasury bills for 91 days, there are treasury bills for 182 days, and there are treasury bills for 364 days, right? Mutual funds, I want us to look at mutual funds as collective investment schemes. And what a collective investment scheme is that several of these instruments have been put together to be managed by a fund manager. And as the returns come in, he shares it to the people that are partaking in the fund. You can actually think of it as sort of like fruit salad. So imagine that banana is one instrument, apple is another instrument, potato is another. Potato doesn't go into fruit salad. Pineapple is another instrument, right? Now, instead of eating or buying each of these, fruits single or one by one, you quickly go to somebody who has sliced and diced them, put them in a plastic cup. Is it plastic cup now? Plastic, the styrofoam things, right, that they usually sell. So they've sliced and diced them and then mixed them together. So instead of spending 200 naira per each, you can just spend 200 naira for the whole basket, right? So that is what mutual funds are. Fixed deposits are very similar to treasury bills. It's just that treasury bills are issued by the government and fixed deposits can be issued by corporates, right? Commercial papers are also similar, but these are issued by corporates as well, mostly for working capital. So commercial papers are instruments that mature before 1 year, right? And when corporates issue these instruments, you are able to invest in them at a very good rate. They will use it for working capital and then pay back at the end of the tenure. For people who are halal investors or do ethical investing, there are sukuk funds that you can also go into. And then we just heard that Cardoso released, investments for about $500 million, euro bonds. And a euro bond must not be in euros, right? In fact, euro bonds are not in euros. A euro bond is when you issue a debt instrument in a currency that is not yours, right? So if Nigeria says, I want to raise money in dollars, that's going to be a dollar euro bond. If Nigeria says, I want to raise money in Ghana cedis, that's going to be a Ghana cedi euro bond, right? If America, for some reason, says, hey, we want to raise money in Naira, that's going to be a Naira euro bond. So those are instruments that you can invest in that are not your local currency. Now, for growth, real estate is super important. But the one I like the most is businesses. So even if you're not a good business person by yourself, then you have cousins, you have friends around, bros, how much will it take for me to get into your business at 3%, at 5%, at 10%? Oh, bring 1 million. Oh, bring 10 million. It's very, very good to have some of those investments around. If you yourself are an entrepreneur, go ahead on for it, right? And then the last part of the growth portfolio is stocks. So stocks is such a broad concept, but basically you're buying parts of a company that has been listed. As the company is smiling, you are smiling. If the company is frowning, you will frown as well. And they sometimes issue dividends that you can even reinvest back into the company or just use it and buy sandals. It's up to you, right? For risk, the risk part of the portfolio, binary options, crypto, these are very, very exciting instruments, to partake in. My own personal suggestion would be just make sure that the total money or principal that you're putting inside is not more than 10%. So let's even assume that what was going to the moon is now back on Earth. Your chest will not beat too much because you have a bit of assurance from the other parts of your portfolio, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is largely the crux of our conversation. We've covered budgeting, why it's important. We've covered the time value of money, and we've covered what should be contained in our portfolio. Now, I want to tell us this. While we know that having fun is super relative, if we have a good budget and we have a stable portfolio such as this, having fun then becomes a no-brainer, right? Having fun becomes a no-brainer. If you already have, in the example where we're speaking about the time value of money, you've saved for 5 or 10 years, and then, you have those returns coming in, people actually go to vacations based on the interest that they've gotten, the interest that they've generated. That's what they used to go to vacations. That's what they used to update their iPhone. My mom personally is a living example of this. She bought, I think it's my dad that actually bought the stocks for her. So she bought Zenith Bank shares way back when we were in secondary school, and she left the shares to just grow over time. Sometimes she adds, but she doesn't take out. Zenith Bank is a stock that pays or that has paid good dividend, historically. If you want to know whether Zenith Bank has paid, it's not even by whether it's in March or April. Just come close to my mom's hand. If you see a new phone, Zenith Bank has paid. My mom will wait patiently. Once the dividends drop, she has gone to change phone. So that's her own way of telling you that my investment is working. My investment decisions are working out fine, right? So people can actually go ahead and have fun based on the interest or based on the dividends, that are coming out of their investments. And that is the actual goal for today. It's not rocket science. There's no secrets. Everything is outside in the opening. Someone says, very nice idea. Thank you so much, Wisdom. Is my mom. She's what we call an orthodox investor. I love it for her. Now, what we want to quickly do, a lot of people said they like to travel. The organizers, Lint, the good guys at Lint Finance, have given us an opportunity, what we call giveaway. For everybody, just by virtue of being on this call, you have access to 20% off fees for any of these things in travel and tours. So ticketing, both local and international flights, visa processing, hotel accommodation, if you want to accommodate yourself here or abroad, if you like pilgrimage packages or you like tourist groups or any of those things, or your own is just that when you travel into any states, you want airport services, you want them to pick you up and drop you quintessentially in your hotel. Any of these categories that you fall into, we have a partner company called Move, MUVVE, and what they are saying is 20% off all processing fees for any of these categories. So you can message the organizers to get these discounts, and you're able to start seeing some of your dreams come true. However, if you haven't yet, if we're now starting to build our portfolio to achieve this, it's also a fantastic time as well. For you, we can hold it till such a time when you are ready. And I say this very carefully, may the no Congo meet me for back of chat room. But let's see the next slide, so that I can immediately take your questions. Overthinking. no dey solve problem, right? There's something called analysis paralysis. There's no need to think too much in terms of your investments or in terms of your travel ideas or wishes. If you've ascertained that it's PS6 that you want to buy, one, find out the price. Two, recognize where your income is at. Three, what is 20% of that? It doesn't have to be 20% like for savings and investments. You can increase to 50%. You can be bullish. The more you earn, the higher the percentage that you can save and be all right. Once you've been able to determine that, we looked at the several places that you can put your investments, 60% in boring investments, 30% in growth funds, and then 10% in risky investments. Go ahead, speak to a financial advisor, get your portfolio in shape. People that have done this diligently, in 3 years, 4 years, they've seen results. It's like going to the gym. Anytime you stop going, you begin to go fat. And then when you're now about to start again, it's harder, right? The only difference is that if your money is in savings and you stop contributing, it will still be in savings and it will still yield interest for you. So let's not have analysis paralysis. Let us today start working on what it is that we can do, to achieve our life dreams, because that's super important while we have our income coming in. So I know that we have just a couple more minutes on the call, but this is actually the most fun part of every webinar for me, right? So now I'm going to take questions on anything that, we found that we wanted to get a bit more clarification on. If it's the instruments, if it's the, if it's the time value of money, anything that we want to get a little bit of clarification on, I am now open to take our questions. You can send it straight into the chat box, and then we are in a position to answer those questions. So I'll just hang back for questions. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Louis. That was such an impactful section. I don't know, I was writing and jotting, and we are breaking some places, and I'm like, God, it's like this man knows me very well. Jesus, I've been doing this wrong the whole time. Okay, Mr. Louis, someone is asking, said, please, can you speak on treasury bills?
Treasury bills, let's look at treasury bills from the angle of the government, right? Every investment instrument is established because somebody needs money, and somebody needs money to do something, like to do business or to create something or create value. And then another person has money that they are not using. The intersection of these two needs is the genesis for the creation of every single investment instrument that exists on the surface of the earth. Mr. A needs money to do a project. Mr. B has money that he's not using and would like to earn interest on that money, or would like to get dividends from that money. So somebody like an investment bank, or like Lint Finance, or like GT Bank, or any of these other banks, come and set up an instrument that connects these two people, so that the person that needs money has money to work, and the other person that is not using his money right now can earn some interest on that money for contributing it to somebody's project. Now, with this in mind, a treasury bill, the instrument that we just spoke about, the person that needs the money to work in this case is the Nigerian government. And in economics, governments are the safest possible borrowers of money, right? Because it's a going concern. Government is the biggest going concern in the world. A going concern is something that will continue to exist, more or less. So except there's war or there's a complete breakdown of law and order, which in statistical terms is highly unlikely, government is assured to pay back, whatever they owe. And it's a thing of pride, We can have so much debt, but we'll continue to increase taxes and suffer the people so that we can be able to extract what it is that we're going to pay back. So nobody will say our bonds defaulted or we are owing, right? Now, a treasury bill is a short-term instrument. A short-term instrument is an instrument that matures before 1 year. So these treasury bills are for projects that the government is doing. So the government wants to quickly do some infrastructure projects, or they want to quickly, they need funds for quite a lot of things, right? they will issue a treasury, and this happens every 2 weeks. They issue treasury bills to be able to get liquidity from the public. Sometimes they issue these treasury bills to be able to somehow change or affect monetary policy. Now, that's a very robust economics conversation. But what you just need to know is that it's the government that is taking your money. And the government is one of the safest, avenues for that, right? So when you give your money, the lowest treasury bill amounts that you can do directly is 50,100,000 and above, right? So you have 50 million and above, or 50.1 million and above, you can actually go to a bank, and then you can go ahead and buy a treasury bill. Now, you have 50 million, let's say the treasury bill is at 10%, you pay 50 million, they will give you 10% of 50 million is 5, right? Let's assume it's a 1-year treasury bill. They will give you 5 million. Now, today, you can take that 5 million and either go and invest or buy sandals. So what do you have left? 45 million, right? But at the end of the tenure, instead of 45 million, they will give you 50 million. That is generally how a treasury bill transaction works. Upfront interest, right, for a particular tenure lower than 1 year, where the money goes to the government for either infrastructure projects or they're just trying to control monetary policy. And then you can earn based on the interest from that, right? Someone says, shed more light on sukuk. So sukuk is a halal investment precept, right? In the Islamic finance, in Islamic finance, there are certain things that you do not invest in, right? And matter of morality, because there are certain beliefs that are available, that prohibit some certain projects. So, for example, now, things like gambling, right? We don't believe that the society is much better because we have more gamblers. People have lost several things from gambling. So what Islam has then done is that if your project invests in gambling, we don't want to be a part of it, right? So that even while we are making our investments, we are bettering the society, okay? So, and then there are also other precepts of Islamic finance. For example, interest is prohibited. So they take into consideration the fact that if I take money from you to do car business, and then I'm doing the car business and it's going on well, and everything is going on well, and I'm making more than the 10% that was promised, then you that trusted me with your money, you should be able to enjoy, right? And vice versa too. It doesn't go so well, I should not then be bothered or burdened to pay the full interest when the business didn't go as well. So interest is riba. It's not allowed in Islamic finance. What rather is there is dividends, right? So there's a mudarib that will be able to manage the investments, and then there's everybody else on the other side that then has access to either give the mudarib investments or that person suggests projects that they can invest in. But the key thing that will happen is that you will not see them investing in things that are considered you will not see them investing in things that are prohibited. So no gambling, no alcohol, no investing in pigs or any of those things, right? They will go for projects that can better or that do not diminish, human existence. So real estate, buying and selling, fantastic for them, right? And then also, they will not collect interest as dividends, so that they can have sort of a fair balance between earnings and contributions. Now, someone says, how long before your investment can fund your fund? Typically, in my experience, this takes about 3 years, but to be sincere, you can get it in much shorter time if you earn more. So I guess the moral of the story is earn a little bit more, find out avenues to get self-improvement, get a better job, haggle for increased pay, do something that helps you to earn more, right? If you're able to earn more, you're able to save more and invest more. If you're able to invest more, you have more disposable income, and then you can have more fun with your disposable income, right? Someone says, is it best to save a certain amount of money before you start investing in stocks, mutual funds, etc.? The answer is no. So for stocks, you can get in as low as 5,000 naira. For mutual funds, you can get in for a money market mutual fund. You can get in as low as 5,000 naira. So there's no need to save some bulk money somewhere, then now start investing. You should be able to start investing almost immediately. Open a stockbroking account or open a mutual fund account. Start already investing, putting in your 5k, 10k, widow's mite type of thing into those investments. Let it start growing. Will it grow in such a way that you'll be overly excited? No, because today is 5,000, tomorrow is 5,010 naira. What are you going to use 10 naira to do, right? But you should imagine that now that it's 5,000, it's 10 naira that is coming up after a day. So when that 5,000 is now 5 million, 50 million, that your 10 naira will change to 10,000, 100,000. And then this is how wealth is created. So now the 100,000 can pay for utilities. So your utilities are basically free. You are not making additional money to spend on utilities. You can use your 100,000 that you got in 2 weeks or in 1 week, liquidate from a mutual fund and settle your utilities. And then over time, enjoyment will come in as well. So basically, you don't need any amount to start. Someone say, is that return on treasury bill called coupon? No. So a coupon is return on a bond. A bond is a longer term instrument. So a treasury bill is an instrument that matures before 1 year, but a bond can go on for 3, 5, 10 years, right? Coupons are the interest that has accrued in sometimes 6 months. So if it's a semi-annual coupon rate for the bond, that means every 6 months they will pay you interest, right? So coupon is for bonds, but treasury bill is upfront. So you receive the money upfront at the beginning of the transaction. You receive the interest, right? So bonds are a more long-term investment. Someone says, what Nigerian savings accounts have the best interest rates? To be honest, I do not know, because I haven't used all the Nigerian savings accounts. But what I can tell you for free is, rather, for me, for myself, for Louis, I would rather put my money that I'm not using for day-to-day expenses in a mutual fund than put it in a savings account anywhere in the world, right? Because the mutual fund will have higher interest rates than the savings account. There will be no ATM fees, there will be no SMS fee. And then now they've said for every money sent in, they will deduct so amount, Kiniko, and all those things. So all those fees that will be eating slightly into my investment, they will not be available, right? So I rather put my money in a mutual fund, which has a similar liquidity to a savings account, and that works better for me. So I think to a large extent, I've answered. Okay, there's still a question here. Someone says, what is it saved in a high interest savings account? I'm not sure I quite get this, but I think the person is trying to say, okay, what if you save in a high interest savings account? It's a great one. The problem with any high interest savings account right now is that no matter how high the interest they give you, you may not be able to get. It depends. It depends on what high interest savings account that is, right? If it's your traditional commercial banks, I can tell you for free that it may not give you as much as a mutual fund. But if it is some of the newer day neo banks or platforms like Lint Finance, etc., that may actually be a good way for you to fix your money and hold on over time, right? That may be a good way for you to fix your money and hold on over time. But if it is traditional commercial banks, before they finish you with charges, there's nothing left of your interest, right? So if it is that kind of high interest savings accounts that we're talking about, fantastic. But if it is the traditional ones, I personally would not, do that. So I think to a large extent, we have gone through all the questions. Thank you so very much, for, okay, someone says, so I have a retirement fund, an emergency fund, and I'm looking for the best instrument to save in. Right. Your emergency fund should be in a liquid investment. So that's a money market mutual fund, straight off the bat. Or if you have a high yield savings account in some of the new banks or financial services apps, like the organizers of this meeting, you can also do that as well. But generally speaking, emergency funds are funds that you should be able to access in times of emergency, right? The extreme is money market funds that will take you 24 to 48 hours to liquidate. And then the closer extreme will be high savings and high yield savings accounts. For a retirement fund, it's more long-term. So you can look at more long-term instruments like bonds, like stocks. You can look at more long-term instruments like a real estate investment trust, or just some money in some kind of business, right? That is what I would do. So since a retirement fund is more long-term, you have the ability to make more interest investing in longer-term instruments. And since an emergency fund is for emergencies, liquidity is what you are prioritizing, not interest rates, right? It has been such a motivational time, with us here. I'm super excited to have come. I myself, in speaking to us, I've actually learned quite a bit. The questions have all been very brilliant questions. Thank you so much for your time here. I'll just hand the floor over to our dear organizers.
Bills creep up on you when you don't expect them. Keeping track of expenses is now a cumbersome hassle, and the stress of manual payments is leaving room for discrepancies and omissions that will drive you insane. Not to worry, that's where Lint comes in. With Lint, you're guaranteed that all your financial commitments are paid on time, helping you and your business avoid being disconnected from essential services or running into debt from surprise bills. Lint automates all kinds of payments, including salaries, subscriptions, bank transfers to loved ones, electricity, and so much more. Simply create a bill plan, set the recurring dates for your payments, and fund the plan at convenient intervals using your preferred payment methods. If you don't want to manually fund your plan, you can easily turn on the autosave feature to automatically top up on the days that you choose. Every plan you create comes with a virtual or physical utility card that you can use to pay for online subscriptions or make a monthly run for gas or supplies at your local store. Lint ensures that your utility card stays funded and saves you from surprise charges on your bank cards. If you need to pause a payment, change the schedule, or stop the payment altogether, Lint allows you to do so with just a few clicks and keeps you in the know with upcoming payment reminders. Finally, you can view the payment history for any of the bills in your plan, enabling you to make insightful decisions about your money every time. So what are you waiting for? Download Lint today and take charge of your financial future. It is free, easy, and automatic.